As I said, I wish we could have gotten more guys at defensive end. That was one position where we really felt like we had a need, and we have nobody on the recruiting class that's defensive end. But there are some guys that have the versatility in this class to be able to play that position. Maybe not next year, but down the road. And I don't say that we have to have a guy to play next year. We've got John Douglas coming back, and we got Josh Gebhart coming back, and we got Tarico Agnew, who played quite a bit at the end, coming back. And we'll have Dion DuBose after he gets back from his knee injury at that position for one more year. We got some guys that have played at that position, but you want to build depth. But as I said, if you recruit guys that you feel like run good and are athletic, typically corners can become safeties, safeties can become linebackers, linebackers can become defensive ends can become defensive tackles, and the progression works that way. And there's some guys on this list that we knowingly said, if he's not that, he can be that, and so I think we've helped ourselves just in terms of those guys being able to grow into playing at those positions.
When you was here before, you talk about speed. I know that's important in your repertoire and everything. Go back to 2000 when you was here before. How's the speed of this class going compared to some of those classes?
I don't know. I'll know when we get here and we can put the clock on them. That's the only way to find out. When you watch them on film, you try to find a guy that plays fast and looks fast on the film. You can take 40 times from the websites and camps and that kind of thing, but there's no way to tell just really how fast they are until you get them right in front of you and you get a chance to time them.
Coach, you got a Walker from Bronxville. You know what everybody's going to ask you?
Yeah, really excited about him.
They're going to ask any relation to the other Walker?
He is a relation. I think it's cousin and on through a few aunts and uncles, but he's an outstanding player. Zach is really a neat kid, and our staff really likes him. He's been over here several times, came for games. Don Norton, his coach, is a former player here, and really helped us with the connection and getting us in with the kid and being able to talk to the kid and getting him over here for games, and so that was particularly helpful. And he's just has great ball skills. I watched him play basketball, and just has a real knack for getting his hands around a ball and being able to go up and get it at its highest point. And he does that on the football field as you watch him catch the ball. He'll throw the fade into the corner, and he'll go up over the top of somebody and get it. He'll one-hand catches. And I watched him in the basketball game getting rebounds and going up over the top of people and taking rebounds. I saw a loose ball on the ground. He kind of stumbled and tossed the thing out in front of him, dribbled down and went up for a two-hand dunk, and just very effortless in the way he moves. And not great speed. If the kid had great speed, we wouldn't have been in the ballpark with him. But he's got great ball skills, and he's a tough kid, and I'm excited about him. I think he's got a chance to be a good player for us someday.
Jeff, did networking help you this year in recruiting like it did last year? Old Georgia Southern coaches around the state.
Absolutely, and we've got several of these guys that have Georgia Southern connections with coaches. I mentioned Zach Walker, and there's and his coach, and there's several of the guys on the list here that have Georgia Southern connections. But it's when you walk through the door, and there's a guy that coached at Georgia Southern or played at Georgia Southern, and you come through. That coach may not help you with one of his guys. He may not have a guy, but he'll say there's a guy here you need to see, and a guy here you need to see, and a guy over here that's getting recruited by this school, and they're really helpful in giving you information about not only their own kids but kids around the area, and because they want to see Georgia Southern do well and see us succeed and see us get the best players. And there's a lot of Georgia Southern coaches out there, a lot of guys that played here that are coaches in high school now, and and we're going to continue to use that resource.
Jeff, I know that, hey, signing days are all great. We all know that. But are there any guys up there that maybe kind of jumped out at you when you saw them and you're looking at film or whatever?
That we just kind of had some wow factor? Xavier Sharp was a kid that early on, he was committed to Louisville, had committed to them as a junior, and we saw his junior tape, and we were really excited about him. We thought he was a really great player. He's committed to Louisville, and that was kind of out the door. We came to a visit to see a game early in the year, really liked it. Louisville ended up dropping him, and he, the kid just didn't have a whole lot of interest in going through the recruiting process and all the hoopla, and he came down to a game, and Coach Quinn recruited him, and he said, I'm going to commit to Georgia Southern. And, we kind of assumed that he would get picked up by somebody else and start to get recruited by other people, which he did, but he had a grandfather that was very involved in the recruiting process with him, along with his mom, and they just never changed. They just never wavered or anything like that, and I think he's got really good tape, and we'll be anxious to see what he does when he gets here. Don't know. This B.J. Johnson, this wide receiver, is really fast, explosive, was getting recruited by several of the ACC schools, SEC schools, not committed or offered, but boy, there were a lot of people messing around with him because he was just so fast, and he got hurt his knee, slowed him down, everybody backed off, and a lot of the schools at our level started to recruit him or were able to get involved with him, not that they weren't recruiting him before, but really get involved with him seriously. And he's a guy that on tape really, as you watch him when he's at full health, was dynamite. I think athletically, I really like Maurice Hunt. He's from right here, Toombs County. He's played offensive guard. You see him pull and get out in space, and I really like him. Eric Worthen from right down here in Swainsboro. What a great-looking kid. We went over and saw him the other day down at school. He was in the weight room working out, had his shirt off, and gracious sakes, he's a great-looking kid, and I hope he'll play as good as he looks. But we really liked his tape. These two kids are interesting, both from Buford. We got Sion committed. Sion was getting recruited by a lot of other folks, and he was a real battle. Really a battle to hang on to that kid. And he came on our visit and committed to us a couple days later and just never visited anywhere else. And he was getting pounded. People were trying to get him to visit, and you just ought to come visit and offer. And I really give that kid a lot of credit because he got recruited by a lot of schools and stayed with us, and I'm glad we got him. You watch him on tape, and he's really smooth and gosh, can make people miss in the open field, and I really, really like that kid. And then his teammate, Dominique Swope, who we got on late, didn't have a lot going, and gosh, he just looks like a natural B-back. He's big, he's strong, got a great lower half, strong legs, and very different. Both of those guys are same backfield, but both very different. And Coach Davis recruited those guys and recruits that area, and excited about those guys. And I don't mean to downplay anybody else, but Austin Hagen and Matt Mills are both heavyweight wrestlers in the state. One of them's 29-1 and one's 30-1 right now. They might end up facing each other in the state tournament in wrestling. But Hagen came to our camp, tough guy. Matt came to our camp. Antoine Williams was a guy that was committed to Virginia. Virginia dropped him a couple weeks ago, and we got on him late. And he's a great-looking kid. He built a lot like Darius Eubanks on our team, runs really well. We're excited about him. Obviously, Prince does some great things, and you'll see his tape. He's very impressive. Riyad Jones had been committed to Kentucky at one point. Kentucky. And again, like it happens, for whatever reason, he got dropped or they filled up, or I don't know how that happens, but we were glad to get him, and we got him very late. He committed to us real late in the process. He visited here the last weekend. Coach Cabral had been recruiting him and stayed with him and really did a great job recruiting him. Josh King, real fast kid, one of the faster kids in the state to play corner.